how do you plan your day, or how do you plan that, this is what I'm going to do? You don't like only stick to one medium. Like, you're doing a variety of things, which also is challenging in a way, because if you have a company of your own and you have a team to handle, you have projects. So how do you balance it all?
See, I feel like the fact that you use the word challenging is the reason why we end up doing things differently. And I feel like that sort of over the years has become a USP, that we do things that no other studio does, which is pretty much do everything that falls in the under the umbrella of design. And that really, I think, helps us to also stand out from rest of the studios that is not just doing a kind of design work. Like you'll find studios that is just doing brand communications, where they're designing logos, brand identity, and stuff like that. You design studios that are only doing interiors,
Mm-hmm.
and design studios that are only doing weddings, or so to say, events like music festivals. Here we are doing pretty much everything. And it also started for me to say, when people, while I was working in different jobs, I was also doing freelance stuff on the sides, right? And that would also be like doing any sort of work. And I think that has also sort of stemmed, when I think about it, has only stemmed from a fact that, while, I didn't have like a job, for me to say, not job, but formal education, I
Mm-hmm.
felt like doing everything was my way of saying, what if a job doesn't work out? I should be saying yes to work. And it should also be something that I want to learn. Now, obviously, that ended up becoming so interesting for me over the course of period, where, I ended up saying yes to things, but at the same time, not only was it challenging, but at the same time, challenges also brought in a lot of new things on the table for me to learn. Right? I
Okay.
always think of for a fact that I am a designer because I put myself in that situation where I wanted to learn and became that. So for me, I realized that if at all I have to do anything, I can do it.
Right.
The fact that I have that zest in me to learn, and eventually I ended up doing whatever was given to me. Right? For example, someone came to me, let's do interiors. You want to design a store for me? I was like, I am not really an architect for me to say. I don't know much about how cement would really work with between different materials, how what kind of paint, this and that. But I obviously learned. I failed, but definitely learned. But I am where I am, proud to say that I can take on more and more projects on that. Similarly with weddings, only because I had a prior experience into designing weddings, so I could do that. But having to say that, how did someone reached out to me? Listen, you design jackets, you do things, which is also an interesting story, because jackets also for me was purely something that started out of boredom. I had this old jacket that I didn't want to throw, and it was a fake Burberry jacket that I bought from my own money, and I was like, you know what, let me find ways to sort of upscale it rather than throw it. That happened, people started liking it, started realizing that, listen, there may be an opportunity for me to say I can customize jackets for people, and end up doing that. Similarly, how jerseys happened, because they saw me work with textiles, apparel. They thought that maybe, yeah, I can probably do this. And
Yeah.
that's how that began. And when I did that, slowly and steadily, more and more things obviously kept falling into my lap to say that, can you do this, because we've seen you doing that. So essentially it was just me saying yes to a lot of things, because I felt like it's always fun to tackle newer things than to say I'm comfortable doing the same things every day. That's not
Right.
I see myself doing next in the next 5 years. If at all someone comes and tells me, listen, we would want you to design, let's say, an air conditioner, would you be interested? I'll be like, yes. I don't know how it is done, but I would love to take it on and make it look different from the rest of the things. So for us, and everyone in this team who comes, they enjoy the fact that it's not one kind of work. They get to work at music festivals, to a wedding, to a jersey, to doing an interior fashion retail store, to doing installations at a music festival, to doing anything for that matter, right? Designing a logo for a corporate, for example. So we'll pretty much be doing everything. Is what keeps us going. Is what keeps the whole everyday business in the studio fresh. Doesn't make it monotonous. Keeps us on our toes at all times, and that's what we really enjoy. Also, because you learn something or the other from one project, and that's something that you can also sort of utilize it in the other project as well. It doesn't
Right.
matter that you're working on a jersey design. But in that whole process of designing a jersey, you end up learning something about textiles also. At the same time, you also end up learning about probably dealing with a client, and that's
Right.
something that you end up learning there as well while you're working on something. So that those things that you learn could be put in any of the given settings in any other project as well. So all in all, how I would really put it is that we really strive on the fact that we do everything.
Okay.
People may say that what's that? One second. Full quote. I really, yeah. They say jack of all trades. Is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but is always a better than master of one. Right. So that's something I truly hold close to my heart, because I enjoy doing
Yeah.
one and just sticking to doing one, because then I get bored. Really.
So, when you told about, learning a different craft, like you mentioned about the jerseys, that, when they told you to make the jerseys, you learned about the fabric also in the process. So, which project till date has been the most exciting and, no, I wouldn't say challenging, but also a learning experience for you till date? Like, which one has been your most exciting project so far?
I honestly feel every project that we do ends up becoming exciting, because every time a client walks through that door and it's just like, here is a challenge for you, would you like to take it on? And we're like, yes, give us challenges, we would love to do it. Right now we're working on a interior design project in Pune for a restaurant, right? And that's
Yes.
something we're doing. And it's challenging because we are here in Delhi and we have a team that we had to do things there, but then at the same time, how are we sort of managing that is what the fun is, right? And
Right.
like I said, yeah, every project brings in new challenges that is exciting each time.
When you talk about design so passionately, and then you said that, from 2D you went to, the real world, and creating designs and installations in the real world. When you design something on paper, and then to execute it, in the execution is like of real importance, because you might do a lot of things on paper, but the end product is what people see and what people give feedback on. So, if you have, like, how does it work for you? Like, how do you, how do I say that? How do you explain your process when it comes to designing?
For us, no, the process essentially is, first step is to understand what your client wants, really, right? And I feel like if you've listened to what your client wants and you've sort of given what your client wants, I think you're good to go. What happens, what I've seen and what I have also done and learned from my mistakes is, as a designer, we end up getting excited about a project first things first,
Mhm.
forgetting about what a client wants, right? And then third thing is obviously doing what you think works best. All these things over the years, I've realized this is not our job as designers. Designers really at the core of it are problem solvers. And I feel like that's something, the sooner you realize that, the better it is, because what happens when I've seen it with even all my friends are designers, and I see what everyone also faces with their clients is that, they end up doing things that they want to do. And this is where I say, like, listen, you may be an artist or a designer, but at the same time, here is where the client is approaching us to give them what they want. And if you're not listening, that becomes a problem. If we're not delivering what they want, that becomes a problem. It can't be about us as designers. It's not about us. It's a project that we have to deliver. Someone's paying us to do what they want because they are
Right.
our ideas, right? And that's where I feel like designers also sort of lose this important aspect in translation. And obviously, I have done that too myself, where I have like imposed my ideas, like, no, 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 don't do this, do this, it'll look nice. But the client does not that.
Mhm.
And that's where I feel like, it's where you have to sort of separate your artist in you, to say that you're a designer and you are here to deliver a service. And that's where I feel like, that's obviously the biggest aspect of me, to say that as a designer, this is what I really want to focus on and continue focusing on, to listen to your client first, deliver to what they want, rather than saying I have a sense of style that I should be imposing onto the client.
Right.
After that, obviously, you have the whole process of designing, which is obviously from having a mood board to getting into discussions what your client wants to giving out sketches, then going on to 3ds. So obviously it's a gradual process for us while we're designing anything, be it branding project, be it a 3D space design project, the process remains the same. So there are steps involved. So you also sort of want to allow your client to be a part of the whole process. The moment that happens, the client is very well secure in his head to say that yes, I am involved, I am satisfied with the way the project's going. Because if there is no communication for the first 10 days, and so to say that, okay, we had our first meeting, this is what you want here, but if it's not broken down into processes, for example, a mood board,
Mhm.
I would say then provide sketches before you go on to 3ds, then to say, how do I sort of Photoshop the whole sketches to say that this is, if this works, then we are okay to go into 3ds. That's when we may go into 3ds to say that this is what we feel. Then obviously there'll be some back and forth. Then we present final 3ds. Then we obviously go into, let's say, setting up Excel sheets to say this is how much it's going to cost. So this whole process, the more you break it down into parts, the better it is, because then your client also feels involved in the whole process. And the moment a
Right.
client is involved is when they feel very comfortable working. And if at all they feel like at any given point there is something they want to flag off, it also helps us to say that we save time rather than taking 15 days to come back with a design without having communication in between. So that definitely sort of helps us to also give out a product a client really wants.
I believe that every artist, they when they create something, they do leave a piece of themselves in the art that they create. Now, for you, it could be, I don't know, like, have you left any of your signature styles in the Team India jerseys or the jerseys that you've been working on or going to be working on? Have you done that? Like, have you left a piece of your?
For me, it's always been a piece of my work will always have India in it somewhere or the other.
Okay.
Not all projects. There will be a fashion retail store that's about streetwear. There's no way for us to fit in an India in there. But there are ways where, if at all I get the chance, I fill it in. Right. For example, a Lollapalooza we did. It's an international festival at the end of the day. But then again, how do I Indianize it? We obviously introduce Indian elements that we sketched out. Like there was a tiger that was sipping, cutting chai from a pot. There was a cat because in Bombay you have too many cats. There was a taxi. There was a bus. The best
Mhm.
bus. But when it came to designing spaces in at Lollapalooza, our
Mhm.
main entrance gate was actually inspired by the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus. The whole facade of that was something that we said, let's create that, turn it here, bring it here. So there is a context to everything we're doing, and it's not just pretty looking designs also. And that's something we feel truly proud of, for a fact that that's something. It's not loud, colorful graphics also. It's also something that at the back of it, it could be used in some form or the other. But yeah, I feel us as a country, there is so much that we have done. And why ape the West when we have something to talk about ourselves from our own set
Right.
of communities? Each state has something beautiful to offer, right? For me, I in fact ended up designing a jacket with a Kashmiri paper mache artisan.
Okay.
They would normally be painting on vases, they would normally be painting on boxes, but here I was, listen, here is a leather jacket, would you want to paint on it? So for me, it's just trying to say, look within ourselves, look around you. There's so much that we can really benefit from, and so can the craftsman benefit from. Because I felt like over the years, crafts have obviously taken a backseat because how digitization has taken over. Earlier in the day, you would have street sign painters painting signboards for shops. Now you obviously have digital flex books and all of that happening. And what about those guys? Now they are forced to take menial jobs, such as some of them are riding rickshaws, कोई किसी के घर पे काम कर रहा है. So for me, I felt like, we as designers are obviously doing a lot. हम तो आगे बढ़ ही रहे हैं, but इनको भी साथ में आगे लेके बढ़ना है, is
Hmm.
what I have
Right.
thought.
So you still do work with a lot of artisans, I believe, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
If at all I'll be traveling, I'll just randomly find anyone. Like for example, I was in Udaipur. Pichwai painting is big in Rajasthan, and that's where I just like randomly was walking into the street. I found a painter there sitting and doing painting for Pichwai painting, and I got in touch. gave him a jacket, painted something, came out looking very beautiful. So again, whatever money comes in goes directly to the artisans, because I feel like I have my day job, which is running the studio, and this is something I just enjoy doing, working with artisans, because you end up exchanging so much ideas, you end up talking to them. That whole process I find very fun.
You did a jacket for Ranveer Singh. I mean, it was talked about and people spoke about, and it came in the limelight, the design that you made. So I just want to know, when a celebrity is involved in say supporting or promoting an event where a design or a creator is involved, do you feel that your designs and your creations, get that platform to be shared? Not just your design, but also the artisans that are involved get that platform to globally get recognized globally as well.
See, it hasn't happened yet, because the one we did with Rohit Sharma or with Ranveer Singh, it was something, wasn't for me to say that I could plug in drafts one way or the other, because what we did with Rohit Sharma was a cause of his, right? Which was, so to say, that end plastic waste is a cause that Adidas and Rohit Sharma both stand for.
Mhm.
And there it was essentially, we had to provide a graphic, so that's something that they could use it on all across their clothes. But similarly, we had to also design shoes for him, right? So what we did was painted shoes in the first edition. Let's say about in 2020 was the first time we had to design those shoes for him. And for those shoes, we actually got in touch with a painter who would be painting movie posters back in the day outside cinema halls, right? So you remember those gigantic, huge movie posters
Right.
back in the day? They were hand painted. So I reached out to one of those. I said, "Why don't you do this?" So that was one way to, for me to say, even if the artwork on it is something that's not concerning his everyday aesthetic, but I reached out to them to say that, you know what, even if it's not something that they do here, some work we should still be ending up giving to these guys, because I could have easily given it to any. I could have painted myself also, but I felt like inclusion of having more of these artisans always is nice. 2021, we did another pair of shoes for Rohit Sharma. This time, I got in the embroidery guys to say sit and embroider on a patch that was then later on sewn onto the shoe. Right?
Okay.
Again, artisans are involved one way or the other. We did for Ranveer Singh, even though the whole artwork that we had made on computer wasn't anything to do with, let's say, any crafts as such. But then again, I got to design it in a way that whoever the painter is closest to it, the match of his aesthetic style sense matches to it. For
Right.
example, the kind of artwork I did was a lot to do with truck art,
Mhm.
but it wasn't truck art to say that it's not outright truck art. But in my head, I knew that the kind of techniques I'm putting, a truck artist painter would very well be able to make this.
Okay.
And for me, how that happened was that, I realized that, my artwork really needs to be 2D, but it looks 3D in that form. And that's something a truck artist could very well be able to replicate, because if you look closely as to how truck artists paint on trucks, they really take shapes and turn them into 3D. And that's what I really did, and that's how I got in touch with a painter who paint on trucks or signboards for that matter.
Okay.
It wasn't out and out their style, or it wasn't something where they came about to say that here I'll create what I want to. Because there are
Mhm.
two ways to look at it. There are days when I'll be saying, giving a piece entirely to an artisan to say that I want flowers, but you do flowers in your own aesthetics.
Okay.
Were in all three cases of these, I was sitting and creating these designs, but they were then produced by these artisans, because I still felt that some form of inclusion is better than having no inclusion at all.
Right. 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 Thank you, Aaquib, so much for your time. It was lovely
Thank you
talking to
so much,
you.
Akshata.